And we welcome you to 3 big questions as we get you ready for racing in New Zealand. This is the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Auckland. Alongside Olympian Stevie Morrison and former world champion Emily Nagel, I'm Todd Harris. All right, guys, so let's cut right to it. SailGP debuting in Auckland. The Black Foils, Stevie, pressure on them to win again. They won last year, but it wasn't in Auckland, and they won the first event in Dubai. So do they keep that momentum running on home water?
I mean, the expectation's really high on them, isn't it? But they do tend to deliver when that pressure's on. Australia look good as well. I think those two teams have a bit of an advantage, jet lag-wise. You know, from an athlete perspective, they've not had to do the travelling. I think that makes quite a difference freshness-wise. But, you know, there's a lot of pressure on New Zealand, but they tend to deliver. So, yeah, I think they do still get it done, but it's going to be a real battle with Australia for me.
Emily, always tough to race on your home venue, with the pressure that comes with the family, the friends, everyone needs tickets. How do you think the Black Foils do in Auckland?
I think they're going to do pretty well in Auckland. I don't think you can look past that home field advantage. The fans on shore, look at the size of the grandstand, it's massive, and those are all going to be patriotic Kiwi fans.
They're going to go nuts. This is a beautiful venue for them. Let's talk about the T-foils, the latest technology that SailGP has rolled out. Stevie, first of all, give us a quick explanation of what they are and how they're different from what they've been using the last 4 seasons.
Well, it's a more high-performance foil. The T-foil sort of enables you to have slightly smaller foils, and they're going to be stronger. They're just new technology. There's more controls on them, so there's a lot more for the sailors to actually work with in terms of being able to get more power out of them, and then a general higher top speed. But it's a lot to learn, isn't it? I think it's a huge learning experience for the teams. It's a real opportunity. It levels the playing field a bit, I think, in my opinion. But again, I just think those good teams have got the extra bandwidth on the race course. They're so used to doing the racing that with that bandwidth, they'll be able to make the little adjustments needed for these new foils. And although it should open the door for the new teams, I don't think it's going to be very easy.
Emily, all the teams have access to the same data in the Oracle Cloud. How does that affect them, and how will that get them up to speed quickly with this new technology?
Well, we've already seen over the past few days all the teams out on the water training with the T-foils. All the teams got here a bit early. They had time to actually get to grips with them a little bit, and from straight away it was breeze on for them. So they got thrown straight in the deep end, learning how they work. Obviously, these foils are a huge speed gain, which is really exciting. Manoeuvres are slightly more difficult, which is going to make the racing quite interesting to watch, because suddenly you're going to be looking at a much bigger deficit between the teams that are up at full speed and sending it and the teams that are off the foils. So those manoeuvres are going to be critical for teams to learn quickly.
Canada's had the most time on these T-foils, Stevie, but does this level the playing field? I mean, does this give everyone the nitro boost that they all been looking for?
I think it's a nice change, and yeah, it gives everyone a bit of a refresh. You know, there's a lot less data out there. I mean, things like the starting is going to be quite interesting, because they use all this software technology on there. They've got a program on the wing stream, but we haven't got the data going into it, so the boat is going to accelerate a lot quicker. It's going to get to a higher speed, so I think that's going to definitely make a difference. Canada have had a lot of time. The USA have had a lot of time, I think, Emily, over the winter. Is that right as well?
Yeah, so the US had quite a lot of time in Bermuda using the T-foils, but also with Canada, while the team as a whole might have done a lot of the work with the foils, Giles wasn't with them then. That was Phil. So actually Giles, the new helm, doesn't have as much time as necessarily the rest of the team, so that advantage might just disappear.
Giles Scott's a smart lad. He'll figure it out quickly. Let's talk about 2 new teams that have come on board for Season 5. Of course, we're talking about Red Bull Italy and the Mubadala Brazil team. How do you think they're going to fare early on? They look decent in Dubai, but this is a whole different kettle of fish. Bigger wins now in Auckland.
It's going to be exciting for them, that's for sure. I think the T-foils are at least a bit of a leveler. It gives them some opportunities to maybe get to grips with them slightly faster than some of the other slightly newer teams, the Germans, the Swiss. Everyone's going to be out there learning and going through the same roller coaster, so it'll be interesting.
Stevie, how soon do you start seeing market improvements for Italy and Brazil? Is it going to be midway through the season? Is it going to be after the European leg? How soon do you anticipate them doing quite well?
Well, if I'm honest, I thought the Italians would come in quite strong. Will be interesting to see over this weekend. I mean, you can't judge anything, can you, right now? I think Brazil are already making quite smart moves. That they've got Paul Goodison, who was in the coaching booth. He's actually going to step in as the strategist. They've got Richard Mason as well, who's a bit of a sort of Swiss Army knife type sailor on the boat. He can do most of the roles. He was in there as a strategist, but I think you got Paul Goodison. He's a 3-time Moth world champion. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's been involved with the America's Cup the last couple of times. So he's a pretty high-end strategist. I think they made a good move getting him in. Andy Maloney, well, he's obviously seriously top-end flight controller. So I think that experience either side of Marcini is going to make a massive difference. But she likes this kind of dynamic type racing, so I kind of feel we might have a little bit of a surprise good result from Brazil. By good result, I think if they could be 7th, 8th, I think that would be a standout event for them. Italy, let's see. I've sort of was thinking they might come in and really be a massive surprise. They were towards the back, but I guess they're going to be hoping by mid-season either that or maybe we'll see Jimmy Spittle trying to grab the wheel.
You know Martini Grail pretty well, Emily. How quickly do you think she adapts to these speeds, to the technology, the T-foils, the whole mix of having that many boats in such small quarters?
Martine's pretty fearless, and she is one of those people that just grabs every challenge she can and just sends it. So I think there's obviously going to be some natural nerves with the conditions, but as we've seen in the practice racing already, she wasn't backing down from those start lines. So I expect the Brazilians are going to be pushing pretty hard, as will Tita and the Italians.
All right, well, before we get to your predictions, a little bit of breaking news. Unfortunately, France, who missed out on the first event in Dubai and got middle of the table points, Stevie, which puts them in tied for 5th place, their boat is still not ready. Some entanglements there with the wing, and so they're not going to mess around with it, put anyone in harm's way. So France will miss this event. Fingers crossed they'll be back for the next event in less than a month's time, which will be in Sydney, Australia. So, after 3 big questions, Stevie Morrison, who do you think is going to do well in the waters of Auckland?
I'm going to sound very boring, but I'm going to go Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain in the final, and I think you've got to look a long way to get past New Zealand to not take the win in front of the home fans.
Emily, you agree or disagree, or someone else?
I'd say similar. I have a feeling like the Brits could come out on top. I back Dylan when it gets windy, and that's what the forecast is showing.
All right, so that's what the experts think. That is 3 big questions as we get you ready for a great weekend of racing as SailGP comes to Auckland for the first time. It's the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Auckland. For Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. That's 3 big questions. We'll see you after racing weekend.